listening to Carnivore Conversations, a podcast exploring the benefits of keto, carnivore, intermittent feasting, and other lifestyle hacks. Each week, we'll be interviewing a special guest from the keto carnivore community and so much more. This is your host, board certified and practicing physician, Dr. Robert Kiltz. We're here on Kiltz's Carnivore Conversations, but I think I'm going to throw in a keto so we can invite all the ketarians out there because they're afraid of carnivore, and we don't want them to be afraid of carnivores at all. But we want to get what is your, the elevator speech? What's your like?
Yeah. I can say I can give you the long run, the short run. I guess we can figure it out. But I first want to preface, I'm not 100% a carnivore. I hate to break it to you, but I did try it and I experimented. And I think for me personally, long term, I don't know if it's in my best interest, but I did love the experience. I'll be honest. And I read your book, so it was like guiding me along the way. Okay.
Before you get into your speech, number one, I am not here to tell everyone to be a carnivore.
Right.
I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. And so I sometimes eat some plants, but not commonly.
Yes.
And we can go into that a little bit because we're gonna. This is intended for us to go back and forth on questions and comments and things like that. But I'm interested in human beings that are interesting, that we can share stories of whether you're keto, carnivore, I don't care, vegan, vegetarian, Mediterranean, pescatarian.
All of the above.
If you're a human being,
yes,
I think we're in the right place.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So I guess I can start off with my background a little bit. So I'm from Boca Raton, Florida. I'm true Floridian. Like all I want to do is be in the sun 24/7. I currently go to school in Tampa, Florida. So still in the state. In the near future, probably will leave the state, but somewhere warm. Can't do cold weather. But growing up, I would say my parents raised me and my brother a little differently from what I think most kids are raised these days.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that. I think they really put or instilled in us certain things, and it has made me flourish currently. When I was growing up, like all I was surrounded by, like in my neighborhood, was a bunch of kids. We would always do sports 24/7 after school. So sports was like my first, I guess, step in the right direction of where I am today. I feel like if I wasn't for sports, I would never have gotten into the weight room or just weight training in general. So yeah, if you want to stop me or
no, keep going. This is your conversation, your story. How young are you?
I'm 20.
20. And what do you want to do or be when you grow up?
So I get that asked a lot. I'm currently studying communications. I originally was human performance with an exercise science background, which is right up my alley. I love that stuff. But I felt that the way it was being taught in school didn't align with like my beliefs. So I kind of made the switch, and it was kind of hard because I was like, if I make this switch, I don't know if I'll get a career in like exercise or fitness or health because I won't have that degree. So it was kind of hard, but I feel like communications is so broad and I could do anything with it. And now that I have like a social media platform, I'm like, thank goodness I stuck with it. And it's been great. So I'm glad I made the switch, but it was, I just didn't like human performance. It wasn't for me.
So your passion in life at 20 years young, and putting yourself out there and sharing your energy. Tell me a little bit about your passion.
Okay. So as you can see through my Instagram, all I do, I'm obsessed. Like literally my parents think I'm like addicted to just working out. It's had its like ups and downs for sure. But it's literally something I cannot live without. And like I was saying, I grew up doing sports. So that was like my first initial way of how I got into this lifestyle. But as I grew up, I knew I wasn't going to be playing sports in college or being like the star athlete. So I had to make a switch to something different and focus more on myself. And I also would like to mention that COVID is when my whole like life like changed for the better, actually.
Okay.
I know COVID was hard for some people, but for me is where, and I was young, so at the time I was like a sophomore in high school. So when that was happening, like, I don't know, it was a lot mentally, physically, and my parents, like I was saying, I feel like they really instilled during those hard times to be positive, and they made sure that we weren't like focusing on COVID and the negative aspects. They're like, why don't you use this time, because there was so much downtime, to focus on stuff that you love and enjoy. So I really got into fitness during COVID. I was working out like every single day, just reading and listening to podcasts, and really like informing myself about just like my body, nutrition, and educating myself as much as possible on like anything wellness. I was literally obsessed. And I remember also taking the TV out of my room during like COVID.
Wow.
And just reading every night before I went to bed. I like wanted nothing to do also with social media, no TV. I was like, I want to just learn as much. I want to be just like healthy and like feel good. Cause like I think before COVID, obviously I wasn't like unhealthy, but I just think I was lacking some areas. And when I did have all that downtime, I really invested like in myself and just tried to learn as much as possible.
What are some of the books that you were reading, and how did they inspire you?
So one of the ones I remember reading during COVID was Influence. I'm blanking on his name, but I don't know. But I was at first I started with a lot of personal growth and development, self-help books.
Like any particular ones that come to mind? Think and
it's kind of weird, but do you know what NLP is?
Yeah.
So like neuro-linguistic programming, I think.
Yes. Yeah, NLP.
So my dad actually, so he's a big reader also. So he showed me that book, and I got like obsessed. I thought it was like almost like witchcraft. Like I could read people's minds, and I thought it was just really cool. So that was like my first initial like self-help book. And then from there on, I just like kept like buying books on Amazon, just like in that like realm of like personal growth and development and just understanding people, psychology books. I started there, and then as I got more into like learning about myself, I turned to more like health and like nutrition books too.
And anything about health and nutrition that you've learned that has helped you, and obviously in communication and your social media, it's about sharing thoughts and ideas with others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. I would say most of like my quote unquote research and background and where I get all my information is all from books. I would love to know like all the books I've read in the past few years, but I really can't remember all of them. But I would say prior to coming to college, when I was in high school, that's all I would do. And that's where I really inform myself, and not from school, not from formal education. It was all like on my own and from books, from my dad. He's very into like health, and he taught me a lot too along the way. So, and then I also like had like a lot of mentors and people that just are in the industry that would help and inform me. So I always was like learning about this stuff and always had good outlets. So I would say like the self-education helped a lot rather than the formal education for me personally.
And about communication and social media, what is it that you think the thing is that attracts you most to that area?
So like I was saying, back in like high school, I was very against social media. I never posted, never had a profile picture, just thought it was like toxic for like my mental health. And I wasn't into it, and I just wanted to focus on other areas. So I kind of kept that in the dark. But then again, I also had all this knowledge and all this information, and I am so opinionated. Like I have an opinion on everything, and it's always different than most people. So I feel like I was kind of hiding that, and I was afraid to share my thoughts. And only my parents would know. I would talk about certain things with my friends here and there, but no one really knew like what I was like thinking inside of like certain wellness or health topics. So I felt like I was like in the dark. Mm-hmm. And obviously social media gets you out there. So I was like, all right, maybe one day I gotta just like take the leap of faith and put myself out there and like share what I love, what I do, and just like what I'm passionate about. So fast forward to my summer of my sophomore year of college, like going into my sophomore year of college.
What year are you in now?
I'm a junior now.
Okay, all right.
Yes. So going into my sophomore year of college, the summer of that, I was on Snapchat. I was like big on Snapchat, and I created like a Snapchat private story. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. No. Okay. So it's kind of like you make a story. It's kind of like Instagram stories. You make a little story, and you just have like your close friends, family, how many people you want on there. So I had like 20 people, like very small, very tiny, very exclusive. And I kind of called it like a rise and grind, documenting like what I ate in a day, what workouts I did, any like health and wellness things I was doing. And that was kind of like the start of like my Instagram page. Looking back at it, like it was almost like a smaller version. And I started doing that, and it kept it very personal, very close, like people on it. And towards the end of the summer, I was getting a lot of like feedback from girls in my sorority, most of my friends, and people are like, oh my God, like you really know what you're doing. Like I want you to help me and like help me through my workouts and like nutrition. So I was like, all right, maybe like I do know what I'm doing. So towards the end of the summer, I was like, you know what? I want to start an Instagram page. I want to really put myself out there. I want to show the world what I've been hiding for like years, because like I've been loving this stuff since like middle school. Like my dad has been a big influence, and my mom, of course. I have to mention her as well. She as well, but more my dad really like, I guess, instilled in me like this personal growth and development, this wellness and then fitness. So I was like, I'm ready to share, and I ended up making the Instagram last September. And it was very small still. Like it was only like 100 followers, like not a big deal. But I was so like determined to make this like the best Instagram ever. Like I reached out to one of my friends, and I made her do a photo shoot for me. And I took photos, like just kind of debuting my Instagram page. And then since then, I literally want to do everything in the world possible. I ended up starting a blog, a podcast. I went on every social media platform. I really focused on my blog in the beginning because I didn't know if I wanted to really be out there on social media. So I would write like blogs on like certain health and wellness topics, like animal-based diet, carnivore diet, certain workouts for girls and females and hormones. And I would literally write like every Thursday. Even though I was so busy, I was like, I have to get a blog out every Thursday. And I did. I was very consistent with it. But of course, life happens, and I kind of switched my attention and my gears more to social media. I was like, social media is where it's at. And if I want to make like a name for myself, I got to do other things. Because the blog is great, but not everyone was reading it. It was like my grandpa, my dad, my mom, and some friends. So then I really started posting on social media. And I really, like, again, I'm a person that I like to research and like learn a lot. So I started just looking things up on like how to like do social media content basically. And I also come from a background in high school. I was involved with a lot of editing and TV production, and just I'm good with like technology, I would say. So I already knew that background. So I just I had to figure out how to take that background with like my fitness and health and wellness information and kind of combine it. So I did a lot of research, like looking up YouTube videos, reading books about like social media and like how to be a content creator. And it ended up being very easy for me to like make videos, and I never felt like really uncomfortable putting myself out there. Like once I did, I kind of felt like I was home and it was a safe place for me, because I feel like for a while I was holding back on a lot. So yeah, I know that was a lot, but if you want to stop me.
What do you think is the thing that holds you back, or any of us?
I think it's like judgment. Honestly, that was the most concern. I think I just felt like people were gonna like hate me or think I'm weird because I had a different opinion. Like I always have a different opinion regarding health. It seems like among my peers and even my family too.
Any particular opinions on the healthcare system?
Between my family, my friends, or in general?
You said you have your particular opinions on things, and I'm just wondering what's Britt's opinion on the healthcare system.
Yeah, honestly, growing up, both my parents were not big medicine pushers. So if we did have any like minor illness, we wouldn't really treat it with anything over the counter. We would try to find other alternatives. We even use a doctor. He's in California. He practices a different type of medicine. So he's always been in the background. And we would always use like little certain vitamins. We'd also use food to treat certain things if we weren't feeling very well. So, and then the other side is that they would suggest go work out if you weren't feeling great, or go do yoga, go do meditate, go do sports and just go outside in the sun. So that's how I was really raised, and that's how I really believe how we should operate in our healthcare system. But of course, everybody has their opinions and beliefs as well.
What's broken in our healthcare system?
I think it comes down to a lot of money. In the end, like people want to make money, and also people want a quick fix, and people don't want to put the work in. I know lots of people that just want it fixed in a second, and I'm the type of person that if you want the real results, you got to take the longer route. And I think that's the main thing, that people just don't have the patience or the time.
Any particular opinions on the current political system that we're all living in?
So actually, back in high school, back in middle school, I was very into politics. I actually started as a political science minor coming into college also. I got very into politics from my dad, but as of now, I kind of put that beside me, and I'm not currently very into it. Like, of course, I keep up on stuff and I want to know as much as possible, but I do not try to consume a lot of politics, if that makes sense.
Does Britt have any particular spiritual practices?
Not really. I mean, I'm a certain religion, but I'm not super into it, I would say.
What about meditation and things like that? You mentioned yoga and get out. What's your thoughts on things like meditation and prayer, visualization?
Yeah. So back in high school, I was going through a lot of like anxiety. I think it's like a genetic thing, but my mom had a lot of anxiety growing up. I have a lot of anxiety stuff. It's definitely under control, and I work on it every single day, but it was bad during COVID. So I turned to fitness and working out, and then I also turned to meditation and yoga to really help me. And that was my approach. Instead of going on any medication, I always resulted in that areas. So again, I went full swing. I was like researching on like yoga, meditation, and I would literally do it every single night before I go to bed. And it really helped me. I noticed a huge difference. I even noticed that it helped me in sports. I was on the dance team in high school. I ran track as well. So I was very busy. And I think also I take a lot on my plate at once. I love to do everything. But then again, I have to always reel it back and like figure out and make sure I'm like doing well. So I had to meditate and do yoga and just making sure that my mental health was good rather than just focusing on physical health. So I did that for a while, but then again, of course, like things happen, and I took a break for a little bit from just like yoga and meditation. And recently, like the anxiety has been back a little bit more and prevalent pretty well. So I'm trying to incorporate that as much as possible into like my weight training, because for a while I was just focusing on weight training, but I can't neglect the most important is what for me is yoga and meditation, to making sure that my mental health is good.
So what are the sports activities you focused on before you were doing weight?
Yeah. So growing up, I was always a dancer. I was a hip hop dancer. I did dance competitively since I was like really young, but focused more on hip hop when I was in high school, and in college I was actually on the club team. And that was like my main thing. But then in high school, I wanted just to try more things. And I ended up trying out for the basketball team. I was on the track team. I also did cheerleading. I've done like every sport. I think that really came from just growing up in a neighborhood where we would play basketball, baseball, kickball. I was just always active. And growing up with a brother as well, he played baseball for a while. He did golf and basketball. I love sports. It was like my original passion, honestly. Even though I wasn't the best, that was where I found like that fire that instilled in me. Yeah.
Do you have any particular academic areas that you thrive the most?
So I'm a great student, but I feel like now that I'm in college, I'm thriving more academically. I think in high school, it was a little challenging for me to learn in a very structured, formal way. I'm more of the lax approach, more on my terms type of way. So now being in college, I definitely notice I'm thriving more. I'm answering more questions in classes. I just think I'm learning better, and I don't feel like I'm being forced or taught certain things I don't want to be taught.
For someone who has anxiety and fear to participate, can you give any advice on how one can overcome those things?
And it's actually interesting because my anxiety can be very bad, but I'm also very social. I'm never afraid to do like any public speaking or anything like out of the comfort zone. But so for tips on anxiety, no, I think that's interesting though, because people that with anxiety would think that I'm shy and I don't like to do anything, but it's the complete opposite. But regarding tips on it, it's very hard to get out of that state of mind when you are in it. I know when I'm having like a panic attack, I'm like, what is going on? I feel like my life is falling apart. I call my mom and she's like, you're fine. Like there's nothing wrong. And I'm like, no, nothing. Like, I don't know. It's like a crazy experience when you're in that, but you always have to like remind yourself and come back to your breathing, which that's why I do meditating, and remind yourself that like you're okay and you'll get out of this. And you have to it's like a mindset switch, 100%.
How often do you walk away from that which you're anxious about, and how often do you just do it anyway?
Most of the time I'll sit in it and do it anyway, and then later on I'll be even more like overwhelmed or stressed. But I'm working on that because I do take a lot on my plate, so I probably do it to myself. But I just want to do it all. I want to be involved. I want to be social. I want to be in shape, and I want to do like everything in the world. So I have to tone it back, but yeah.
Would you say that your weightlifting and your exercise is a major help to your anxiety?
In the beginning, it was a huge outlet for me during COVID.
Mhm.
And just I remember like just vividly like sweating. I was like, wow, I feel amazing. Just like the little things, and it taught me just a lot about like being motivated and being committed to stuff. So it gave me such like personality traits, I would say, like starting so young. Like I was weightlifting maybe like starting like when I was 10 years old, but like not really like
Mhm.
serious. Like my dad would bring me to the gym with my brother because he had a trainer for like baseball. So I was always around it. And I remember just like, wow, this is like something insane. Like I was obsessed with it too. And when I got really into it, I even felt better. I obviously like don't want to focus just on physical, but of course it changed my body physically, and it made me more confident. It made me want to do more. Made me want to be out there in the world and just see people. So definitely props to it.
Cool. Nutrition. What's Britt's opinion on nutrition? Where is she at today?
Okay.
How would you share your thoughts and ideas about that?
So do you want to know just today and you don't want to know prior?
No,
Okay.
where have you come from? Where are you
Okay.
at? What's your thoughts on nutrition?
Okay, so I have been through the ringer. I've done every single thing in the world possible. I grew up eating traditional, nothing crazy. My parents never forced us to eat certain foods, so I kind of just ate like a regular kid, regular teenager.
Mhm.
But it was always, for me, it seemed like I accustomed to what my mom ate. She was very big into salads, very into vegetables, lean meats. Never really craved any red meat growing up. I kind of stuck to like salmon, veggies, and didn't really investigate into like the red meat area. But in high school, when I was running track and dancing and weightlifting, I ran into a bunch of hormonal issues. I ended up losing a bit of weight. Nothing crazy, but I think just like track, it shreds you out insanely. So I lost my
shreds. Oh, so you lean a lot of weight and you become shredded where
yes,
like suddenly you can see everything.
which wasn't healthy for my body type. So I ran into a bunch of hormonal issues and I ended up losing my period for like quite some time. I think it was a year. Like I did not menstruate at all, which is not healthy at all as a female, especially in high school. I was growing still, so I don't want to have any issues in the long run. So during that, my mom was like, all right, we got to figure something out. She's like, I know you don't want to stop running track because I loved it. I don't want to stop doing dance because you love it. And you don't want to stop lifting weights because that's like your outlet and that's what's helping you with like your stress and anxiety. So we're like, what do we do? And then I start really focusing on nutrition because I'm like, all right, if I want to be super active and perform well, I got to really lean in and figure out what to eat, what to fuel my body with, and how to have the energy and even just like the mental capacity, because I remember feeling brain fog, very fatigued, low energy. And I was like, I got to figure my shit out. So we hired people to help me. They did not help. So I was like, you know what? It's on me. I got to figure myself out. So of course I start reading. I start learning on how to fuel as a female. And it was interesting. My dad actually came across Paul Saldino and Carnivore Aurelius and the whole carnivore trend and the diet. And he started sending me like reels on it on Instagram. And this was back like, I think 2020. And I'm like, wow, like these guys are like insane. Like their vitality is amazing. Like they look great. And I feel like they're feeling properly. And I didn't really see many females kind of showing that. Like obviously now there's a lot more, but at the time I feel like it was kind of just like the guys promoting it. Right. And I was like, okay, interesting. This is something to look into. Then I start buying books on like the carnivore diet, the animal-based diet, and like everything possible. And in the summer, I just started like out of nowhere. I was like, you know what? Let me just try it out. So I started with the animal-based diet. And I was eating lots of red meat, pouring on the honey, lots of butter, eggs. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like amazing. Like it was an immediate switch. And at the time, I like still didn't really have my period. I know it sounds like weird just saying that, but like it's true. I didn't have it. So, and then towards the end of like trying out the animal-based diet, it started getting regular. And I was like, this is very interesting. So maybe it wasn't all the extra training. Maybe I just wasn't fueling properly. Like when I was running track, I would eat low carb bread. I would eat tons of veggies, never any protein, and no red meat ever. It was strictly like maybe chicken, salmon. And I like looking back on it, it just seems very bland. And yeah, so that's, yeah, if you want to stop me.
I wonder if you were poisoning your body.
Probably.
And not eating enough fat.
Yeah, that's
most diets are full of plants and proteins, and both plants and proteins can be poisonous. And that may be the biggest problem, because I don't know of any real hormone imbalances, right? Because it's really inflammation.
No, that's interesting, because I did all this blood work and all my hormones came back perfect. So in the end, it probably wasn't a hormonal
it was hormonal.
It was, right.
But it was inflammation in a low animal fat
lack of
diet, which poisons your reproductive organ systems. Wow. That really is the biggest problem here.
Yeah, I also even remember when I was reading so many books that the female athlete triad, you have to have an immense amount of fat in your diet in order to get back your period and all this stuff. So I definitely was lacking lots of fat because I was eating tons of veggies and lean meats, and honestly, no fat in my diet was really prevalent. So
interesting. And so when you were learning on the carnivore concept, but animal based, so there was
I never did carnivore, but I started with animal based. Yes.
Okay. And when we say animal based, because I think these are all confusing terms.
Yes, it is very confusing.
You either eat only animals, you eat only plants, or you eat a combination.
Yes, at the time it was a combination, because I would still eat fruit, honey, dates, dairy. I was including eggs. So yes, animal based, but I am including some type of plant foods, correct?
Which is part of the the confusion,
Yes.
because we all this different labeling and language we use in this nutritional world,
right?
Because we call ourselves a carnivore, but we eat fruit, so you're not
It's
really.
confusing.
And then we call it animal based, and then we say what you could use certain plants. Like most animals that we're talking about are lions, and they don't eat plants.
They don't, yeah, right.
Right,
No,
right.
you're so right about that, which I think social media kind of made all that a little confusing. But I have to always remind myself the right terminology and to really explain it. So, yeah.
Right. So keep on going in your story. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're good.
So on the animal base, your period was coming back. It was regular.
Yes.
Anything else you noticed about your body?
Yeah, the switch. So at the time when I was like under fueling, my hair was falling out a lot. My skin wasn't great, very low energy, tired all the time. Like I remember I was like, how am I gonna go to a track meet? I feel like shit. How am I gonna go dance right now? I actually have no energy. And this stuff I love. So I was like, how could I fix all this? And thankfully when I did switch my diet, I immediately noticed the energy switch. The hair wasn't falling out. Still working on my skin, but that's another situation. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned under fueling.
I think I was eating enough.
Well, but I'm throwing out a little. So what if our energy is fine, but we're simply poisoning our body?
Yes.
That we're losing energy.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm weak. And what do most people do for loss of energy today? They drink caffeine.
Right.
So
yeah.
How many people do you know take no caffeine and no energy drinks?
Me.
But that's about it, right?
No, yeah. I honestly, I made a podcast about this. It's very interesting because being in like gym culture, a lot of people want to take pre-workout and they want to just take caffeine to fuel their workouts. And I'm like, that is terrible to do. There is so many side effects between Celsius and all the Red Bulls and Monsters and all these drinks that have been created on the market. And even just like coffee in general, if you overindulge in it, is not going to be good in the long run also.
Aren't those drugs that we've been convinced are important to keep us going, or they're good for
to keep us sustaining energy? And I feel like so many people are reliant on it. Like I know my friends are like, oh, I need my cup of coffee or else I won't have energy. But maybe if you worked on your sleep, worked on your stress, or worked on your diet, you wouldn't feel like you need to rely on certain things like that.
So under fueling and under energy is the lie.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
And it convinces you that your problem is you're not fueling your body properly, but fat is our fuel for our body always.
True. Correct. Yeah.
Sugar is never your energy ever.
Mm-hmm.
Plant sugars are essentially toxic chemicals, and of any significance or frequency. So really the biggest problem is, again, carnivore diet, animal-based diet, keto diet, vegan diet, doesn't matter.
Right.
But we've got it all wrong. I mean, would you say in general growing up, you ate a lot of fat?
Not really, honestly. I mean, I remember eating like 2 eggs in a day, and that was like, I would say the most fat I had. And now I eat like 6+ eggs and butter and red meat. So growing up was a huge lack of fat in my diet.
And I'm just wondering if our anxiety, our depression, and all of our other symptoms are secondary to plant protein, low-fat diet.
Probably.
We're poisoning ourselves.
Yeah. No, I remember, wouldn't say like I think the anxiety will always be in me, but the fats probably helped it a little bit, I would say. But definitely can help with depression, your mood swings, mood disorders, switching that diet to higher fat approach for sure.
Would you say it's kind of normal to be a little depressed, sad, and anxious from time?
No. I mean, I think it's just
go with this a second.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Is it likely a normal human emotional experience to sometimes be a little sad, depressed, or anxious in situations that we probably are supposed to be that way? But the problem is we're always that way today. because we're convinced that you should be sad, depressed, or anxious between these things. And the nutrition you're eating is poisonous, causing your brain not to be able to handle the depression, the anxiety, and the sadness.
That was beautiful, mic drop, because that is so true. Yeah, because I think obviously things come around and we get into certain moods, but I think our society has come to believe that we are supposed to be in that state of mind 24/7, and people forgot that you're not supposed to feel terrible 24/7. I mean, of course, stuff's going to happen and you're going to feel like shit some days, but majority should not be depressed, anxious, and stressed, in my opinion.
In general, what are we taught to consume or easily go to? Alcohol, drugs, and other experiences that are not in our best interest.
But people still do it anyways. Yeah. And that's kind of the way I was raised. And I think that's why I feel kind of out of the sorts, because I believe that, and most people don't, and they want that quick fix and they do not want to put the time in or effort to really change themselves.
But you had mentioned that through COVID and some hardships, and you didn't particularly like social media.
No.
Something pushed you to change.
Yeah, no, I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was something that, actually, I do remember something specific, I would say. So when during COVID, schools were obviously all out, but there was a time when my school opened back up and we were allowed to go back in person. And I was the first to go back in person. Like, none of my friends went back in person. I was in school with like 5 kids, freshmen mostly. And I remember feeling very like confident and very like, take charge, like, here I am, like, no one else is doing this. And that really gave me like a confidence boost as well. Like, no one was doing this certain thing. And also when I was home online for COVID, I was not learning well. I was a little depressed, not gonna lie. I was sitting in my room on a computer and being taught school. Like, you can't learn that way. So when I went back in person, I remember like almost like my brain was like lighting up. I was like, I'm talking to people. I'm seeing my teachers and students, and that really put a switch in me too, in a more positive outlook.
What does Britt's daily nutritional habits look like currently?
Okay, so I would say I really try to focus on either like a pound of ground beef a day, eggs. And now I've always been incorporating fruits, but there was a month in the summer I did strictly carnivore, where I did no plants, no fruit, nothing else besides meat, butter, and eggs. And currently now I am doing honey on my ground beef, eggs, I do dates and butter, I have raw dairy. So basically I would say meat, eggs, fruit, raw dairy, and that's about it. I don't eat any vegetables, like certain vegetables, obviously, like fruit could be a vegetable, whatever, but
it's a plant. I call them plants.
Yeah, I know it gets confusing too.
I don't know what a vegetable fruit. Now they call avocado.
Right, no, I'm saying, yeah.
It's a fruit.
Yes, if it has a seed, it's a fruit, technically.
That's it, right?
Yes.
And so plants and animals, and you might throw in little mushrooms in there somewhere, or some moss, or whatever it is.
No.
Seed moss. So, and so on that diet, how you feeling?
Feel good. I feel really good. Thankfully, I've had my cycle has been regular for like years now. I haven't had any issues. And this is another thing. So I got my blood work done over the summer.
Yeah.
And before getting the blood work done, the past blood work, I was not eating lots of red meat and I guess high cholesterol foods. And then after that, I did incorporate more high cholesterol foods. And everybody was like, oh my God, your cholesterol is going to be so high. It's like not going to be good, like blah, blah, blah. And of course, because I'm eating so much red meat and eggs, and I get my blood work done over the summer and the results come back and my cholesterol goes up like 100 points. And I'm not worried. My doctor's not worried. Everybody else is worried for me. I'm a healthy individual, and the like HDL was good, the LDL was good, the triglycerides were good. And I think I have to preface that I think also raising my cholesterol has made me have a consistent menstrual cycle. I think when I used to have low cholesterol also, and since incorporating more red meat in my diet, my cholesterol went up, my period went up, my hormones evened out a bit. So I don't know, I could be guessing. I'm not a doctor, obviously, so I'm just assuming all these little things.
You're a human being that knows how to read and listen and learn. And
Yes.
I'm just wondering if the science of cholesterol, LDL, HDL, VLDL, triglycerides is all wrong. It's just another diagnostic test to get you worried. And when you get worried and a doctor says you really need this drug, then you take the blue pill or the red pill, and guess what happens?
Worse things happen.
So your hormones are made of
cholesterol
and
fat,
and so your body is made of cholesterol and fat.
Your brain is like, what is it? What's the percentage fat? I don't even know.
Look at every cell wall of your body is made of fat.
Yes, and I feel like
phospholipids.
Exactly. And also my main thing also when I started my platform is to really promote to girls and females that it's important to eat lots of red meat and eggs and butter, because we are the ones like in the end producing children, and we want to make sure our hormones are amazing and have the energy and vitality to be just living properly. So yeah.
We do know that women could make babies without men, but men cannot make babies without women. Mother Mary, we know existed.
Yes.
But the story is real. Yeah. So let's go on a little bit, because I could probably talk for 5 hours here.
I honestly could too.
I love your energy. We're really grateful you being here. And
yeah, but the only thing I do have to say, my battery's on 20%. So
listen, when it dies, we'll do it another day.
Yes.
It's all meant to be.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Because this is bits and pieces of conversation to inspire everyone. So I'm almost 70. I've been for almost 15 years. I've never felt better in my life. And I personally believe that carnivore. Now, okay, I sometimes have a cookie, cake, or ice cream, or French fry, but on a regular basis, to me, carnivore. But fatty meat.
Yes, not lean meats. I read your book. I know all you're about.
Lean meat.
Yeah. No, lean meats is not carnivore.
It's not. It's not. But whether does size matter? Does obesity cause disease? And I say it causes no disease, because why would your body make you get fat? And that's the cause of disease.
Right. Interesting.
Does your body make you does your body make anything to make you sick? No.
Right? It wants to make you feel better. It wants to help you.
Right. So
idea.
You put in foods that make the poisons that damage your body, and that's really all it is.
Wow. Yeah. No, you're 100% right on that, because even like just people are programmed to eat certain things and they believe certain things are healthy, and it's poison, honestly, in the end. So that's why also a lot of people, I was afraid to share my beliefs, because I feel like people are so programmed and so narrow thinking that they won't even open their mind to what I have to say. So
programmed to believe. That's all this is.
Yes.
It's massive programming. Tell us a little bit about your strength training and how important it is to you, and what your thoughts are to improving other people's lives. Now, I'm just going to add this. When I was in high school, I played no formal sports in high school. I was in the weight room every single day. Now, I was not there to build massive.
Right.
I can lift heavy, and I didn't look like I could.
Honestly, I know a lot of guys, they want that bulkiness, but you want to be able to be active and move and fluidity. You don't want to be carrying around like all this baggage. Like I see these guys in the gym that are just like walking around, like they can barely walk down the street. So yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your story of the strength training and how it's affected you, and what your recommendations are for young women, young men, and any of us at any age.
Right. So since sports, I that was like my first initial way I got into like an active lifestyle. But of course, wasn't going to be anything professional. So I turned to weightlifting, and that was like my time to shine. I was like, I got to figure out how to put on muscle, how to really even use like a dumbbell. Like just people, when they get to like where I am now, like when I first started out, I had no idea what I was doing. I would look up YouTube videos like Chloe Ting and girls on YouTube that like would use like 5-pound dumbbells and bands and resistance loops and just like weird like movements. Like I remember doing like just body weight, honestly, when I first started out. And at the time I was like, oh my God, I'm sweating so much. This is the workout. And that was nothing. It was literally nothing. And luckily I was never caught up in that mentality of that women should not lift weights because they'll get bulky, they'll get too big, blah, blah, blah. Like my dad always enforced me to lift weights. He always thought it was very important to do that. And so he had a trainer he used to work out with, and he introduced me to him. And so growing up, I would go to him and we would do like weight training sessions, like 30 minutes, I would say. But at the time I like really dreaded going. I like hated them. Like he doesn't know this, but I would dread the workouts. I was like, this is so hard. Like I can't do this. And like, I can't believe I even thought that way at the time. But so I started like lifting from, I guess, trainers really were teaching me the way. I know a lot of people learn from like their parents and friends, but I think I learned from like professionals, I would say, like people that knew what they were doing. So we would do stuff like that. And then I would then obviously go on my own. I would watch some videos. We had dumbbells in the house, so I would just like learn on my own. And then eventually I started going to my school gym, and that's when like I really started going to like a public gym. I never really went to like a public gym growing up. It was more like working out with my trainer, watching videos, and doing it on my own. When I came to college, I was like, all right, no more trainer, no more videos, time to really learn on your own. So freshman year of college, started going to my school gym, really looking up videos and workout programs on what to do. I really had a good foundation going into it. So I wouldn't say I did not know what I was doing. But I don't know. I just didn't mind going super heavy or focusing on upper body. I know a lot of girls are still to this day afraid of it. And it like bothers me. They're like, all I want to be is toned. I don't want to put on muscle mass and weight. And you're not. Like girls have such different hormones than males, and you would have to take like certain things to get to that point. And I've been working out for like years, and I just have now seen results in my body and my physique because of course, like progressive overload, and the more weight you do, the more muscle you will build. And of course, nutrition plays a big aspect as well. But yeah, if you want to stop me, if anything.
No, keep going. No, this is real helpful. So do you think that the consistency and heavier is more important than the certainly inconsistency, but than the lighter weights?
So just going off consistency, I also want to make known that if you do want to see any results or any progress in the gym or with fitness, you can't just be going once a month or once a week. You got to really put in the time and the effort. And that's the other thing. Like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, I want your biceps, I want your legs. And like, well, then put the work in, because you could wish all you want, but if you're not in the gym grinding it out, nothing's going to happen. So, of course, consistency plays a huge role.
What does that look like for you, Britt?
So, I have been through a few things, ups and downs. Currently, I'm trying to tone it back a bit. Mm-hmm. But when I first started out, I was going, I would say 5 to 6 days a week, an hour session, weight training. And that would include like a warm up, a cool down, some core stretching. And I always started with like compound lifts. I'm sure you're familiar with all that stuff, right?
Well, let's share with our listeners.
Yeah. So like, let's say I'm doing a leg day. So I would start with like barbell squats, deadlifts, if I'm doing them, anything like heavy lifts, I would start off with those, and then go into more accessory things like with dumbbells or machines. Or let's say I'm doing upper body, I would start off with a bench press, incline bench, and then do dumbbells and accessory with machines. So that's kind of how I set up my workouts. Start with the heaviest, focus really on that. and then put more like little detailed into like the dumbbells and machines.
Okay.
So
yeah. And do you currently, how often are you going today?
So I still go like 5 days a week, but I'm going less weight because I'm like deloading this week a bit because I'm a little overwhelmed and stressed with school, so I don't want to put too much strain on my body. But normally I would go heavy, and I love going heavy, so it's kind of hard for me to go light.
So do you think the heavy 2 to 3 times a week versus
Oh yeah, I think 2 to 3 times a week heavy is perfect. I am just different and I love it, so I like to go more. It's like my place, my safe zone. So, but if a beginner was just starting out, 2 to 3 times a week, even heavy or light is totally fine. I mean, I don't know if you'll really put on like muscle mass if you go super light and don't really put the strain on your muscles, but of course you'll see some progress and results.
And the nutrition, animal based,
And protein is huge also.
Cool.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about your social media content and how your social media is sort of driving your passion to share.
So it's actually funny. The way that like my account blew up was literally from like one reel. I posted like of what I ate in a day or like food that I buy at the grocery store, and it literally blew up. And I just kept getting all these follows from like this one reel. I could like send it to you later. And since then, I mean, I had like a little bit of a community before, but since then, like that's where it really took to like 30,000 followers, honestly. And that was over the summer. And then I'm like, I was like, holy shit, like this life is not made for me. I used to hate social media. Like, what am I gonna do? But then like it really turned into like a little community, and like my followers are so cute. They're so supportive, and I feel like I've connected with so many people like yourself and just other like influencers. And I feel like I'm talking to people like all over the world, all over the country, and I love to collaborate. And we talk about health 24/7. Like, who would not like that if you're into this stuff? So it's been a fun but sometimes overwhelming journey. Like, I am in school and I didn't really have this account last year. Like, I had it, but it wasn't huge. So now coming into this first week of school, I'm like, oh, it's a lot. Between I'm in a sorority, I'm very involved on campus, I have a job, and then also like with my social media, I feel like that's like a second job. So it's definitely a lot, but I'm gonna try to like manage my time, and I don't want to lose like the engagement. And I love posting and I love engaging with my followers, so I'm gonna try to figure it all out.
And obviously, being out there in social media, there's the good, the bad.
Yes. Yes.
How are you handling that part of it?
So honestly, I'm really thankful. I haven't had many hate comments. I know people have gotten a lot of that. Thankfully, I haven't gotten to that area. But you know, here and there I get certain things, and I already had a tough mindset prior to social media. Like, I think I had a good head on my shoulders growing up. My mom really instilled in me a good head on my shoulders. I could take it. Like, if people want to say stuff, that's okay. I don't care. I'm very like confident, and I think that's what you need to be in order to have a platform. If you are a little unsure or insecure about yourself and then you put yourself out there, it won't mix, in my opinion. But yeah, so I've been good so far with it.
What are your opinions or your advice to other young women and some young men too, obviously for all of us,
Yeah.
and moving forward on this journey of health, fitness, and
Yeah. So,
or whatever the nutritional advice you were thinking?
Right. No, I want to make it known that I am so happy that I put myself out there. I want to make it known to people that if you have a burning desire, passion in any area in life, pursue it and talk about it 24/7. I don't care if people are getting annoyed with you. If you love something, follow your heart. And I'm really happy that I woke up one day and decided to really share my story, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be doing half the stuff I'm doing currently. Like, I went to an influencer event the other night. I'm talking to you. Life is just crazy right now, but the main thing I want to put out there is literally follow your passion no matter what anybody says. I know I've had people tell me I can't do certain things or that I shouldn't do certain things, and I don't listen, and don't listen to anybody. Just follow your heart, basically.
But we're all learning together, and through
Yeah,
reading,
yeah.
I think reading and philosophy and health and wellness and really is important. I think spirituality is very important for all of us. So if any particular final messages that you'd like to leave our listeners that are struggling on their path to health and wellness or finding their purpose?
So I would say it's interesting because people say social media, you shouldn't find your information. But I found a lot of my information from social media, whether that was podcasts, whether that was books, whether that was any social media platform that like was sharing their story. I feel like I really learned. So I would say always outsource. There's so much information out there rather than the formal from school or from regular doctors or just from the regular quote unquote information places you should get. I would just say inform yourself the most. Like I think from where I am today is because I've read so many books. I've listened to so many podcasts. I'm a curious person. I want to know what's going on in the world. So I would say educate as much as possible and have an open mind as well.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Carnivore Conversations, hosted by me, Dr. Robert Kiltz. And don't forget to review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening today. Check out drkiltz.com for more and subscribe to our Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook for more inspiring content every day. Take care and see you next time.